Before we get started with this episode, I wanted to talk about something near and dear to Kevin, cats, and more specifically Kitty Bungalow Charm School for Wayward Cats. Kitty Bungalow is a community cat organization and kitten socialization facility where their focus is on providing services for the most vulnerable felines. If Kevin was still around today, he would most likely be a supporter of this organization, and our guest today, Doug Stone, is one of the board members. And he will be talking more about it later on in the episode, so please stay tuned. Also, stick around at the end of the episode where I talk about my sponsor, Pop Soap, where I tell you about the soap revolution. Now, on to the episode. Hi, welcome to Animaze, the stories of Kevin Seymour. I am your host, Aramis. Now, if you do not know who Doug Stone is, he is a writer, a director, voice actor, and multitude of other things in the industry, and had the pleasure of working with the late Kevin Seymour in the early days of Animaze, and he's here to tell us those stories about Kevin. Doug, could you do a little introduction for the audience?
Sure thing. I came to LA in 1985 to do a original animation series as an actor called Mask, and decided to stay in LA, which led me into doing theater work, not much on camera work, but a lot of voiceover work. And at that time, the dubbing industry was just kind of getting rolling, and the first things we were dubbing would be foreign, usually live action foreign films. A lot of films that were Oscar nominated movies that they decided might have an audience for an English language version of them. So I got my feet wet doing that. As it turned out, I had some aptitude for it. And then got into dubbing animation as well. Most of that, a lot of it was Spanish stuff that was being dubbed here from BRB and other companies. And kind of grew from there. I got into the script adaptation side of it, which means taking those foreign language scripts and adapting them for mouth movements in English, and in some cases anglicizing the script for more of an English audience. Sometimes they want it, like with anime, they want it absolutely true to the original story. Sometimes when it was non-anime, they'd want it anglicized. Anyway, that led me into directing as well. So by the time I met Kevin in the early 90s, I had already been directing for about 3 or 4 years, I guess, and also casting and doing script adaptations. And at the time I met Kevin, there was a studio called Intersound, which I think was on Sunset Boulevard, which was primarily doing dubbing into Spanish with some wonderful directors and actors, and dubbing into English. And one day, two gentlemen walked in. I don't recall the other fellow's name, but it was him and Kevin Seymour. And they said, we have something we want dubbed into English. And that was where I first met Kevin.
If I recall, you mentioned it was Fight Iser, correct? Or was that the one?
I believe it's Ixer 1. Yeah.
Ixer 1. Yeah.
Fight Ixer 1.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a bit about that, considering that was the
Sure.
first time you ever worked with Kevin?
Sure. Well, Kevin came in, and as you know, very shy guy, very soft spoken with his partner. Now, my understanding, and you may know more than I, was that prior to this, Kevin had been super into anime and was marketing items from Japan. I think he'd probably been to Japan several times, and was bringing items back for that very niche, small market at that time. And we at the Intersound studio, though we were dubbing lots of things, I didn't even know the word anime. And when he said, well, it's an anime project, I said, what's that? How do you spell it? A-N-I-M, anime? Anime? And so I had to get used to, anime. Oh, okay. It's a Japanese pronunciation. Well, that's interesting. What is this? So he said, look, I don't do any voice work. I don't do any directing. I don't know anything about this. I just know I want to get this in front of a Western audience. I said, okay, cool, no problem. So Intersound, the studio, attached me to him. I took it home, uh, watched the entire project, and then I think Kevin provided me with a translation, as I recall. I
Yeah.
don't know where he got the English translation from, but I then adapted that to the mouth movements uh, of the animation as it existed, trying to Kevin wanted us because it was anime to honor the original script as much as possible. So it wasn't a project where I was anglicizing it for an American audience, putting in American style jokes and et cetera, which we
Yeah.
sometimes would do. It was instead to as strictly as possible, honor the original Japanese script while making the adjustments required for English language dubbing. So I did do that. We ran it by Kevin. He was content with the script. I don't recall that I had to make a lot of adjustments for him. I think
Yeah.
he saw that I was doing it the way he wanted, which was honoring the original Japanese. The casting, I don't remember if I just cast it and said, Kevin, I've got actors who can play all these roles, or if I had them audition and then played them, played him two or three actors per main role to see if he approved. I can't recall, but
Yeah.
in one way or another, we came up with a cast that met with his approval,
Yeah.
and the gentleman he was with, again, whose name I it will be
The,
lost in history. It was
there's
not Yutaka.
yeah. If it was a like a Japanese man, it could have been Ken
It
potentially.
was it was a Caucasian man.
Then it might have been Robert Napton potentially.
Might have been Robert Napkin because I know that name, so it might have been Robert that he was
Yeah.
doing that with.
Yeah, because they worked together. Because you were right in saying he was bringing stuff over from Japan through Books Nippon. Him and Robert and Lance Reddick all worked there together. So
Ah,
if he was going around, I know Robert was involved in a lot of those early projects directly, and then I think he went off and started working on the manga side of things.
right.
But that would be the one person I would think of who would have been there for that as the other gentleman.
I believe that would have been that sounds very familiar because there were two people present most of the sessions,
Yeah.
uh, Kevin and someone else, and I think it was Robert.
Yeah.
Um, so I did the casting. Some of the names in that show are quite well-known names to audiences now if they go back. And if you look at Kevin's IMDb, you will find it, and you'll find Kevin listed as the producer. If you click on Ixer1 within Kevin's IMDb, and then even go further, like down the rabbit hole, you'll finally get to, I think, an IMDb listing that shows the English language actors who were involved in it. And if you go down, scroll to the very bottom of that page, you'll see me as script adapter and voiceover director. I'm not listed for casting, but that's fine. But I'm listed for those two things
Well,
in the
hey,
project.
well, that's where I come in for my archive, knowing that you did work on casting. On my end, I put both cast and crew in my archive, so I've
Ah,
had to fix those errors. Or even in the official credits, there was an error where I fixed it on my version. So
ah,
it's good. It's good info to have.
sure.
So,
Now, some of the people in the cast did use pseudonyms, like Kevin was famous for,
yep.
and part of that was that dubbing at that time, though it seems odd to people now because anime is huge, but at that time, some of the voice actors felt like dubbing was kind of beneath them. It was something they went and did at night. I directed at night because people had other things they were doing during the day, including myself, voice projects. So there are some well-known people in that who you may see odd names for, and you won't be able to trace back who they were.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I will not name names because if that's what they wanted, I'll still honor it, even though it's 30 some odd years later.
Of course. That yeah. And if people want to step through and be like, "Oh, that was me," great. If not, I'll
Yeah,
honor that and just keep the pseudonym there and just go
right.
from there. So
So that was what happened with that. Now at Intersound Studios, I was doing the directing, as I say, and Kevin and I guess it was Robert would come in and sit behind the engineer and myself while I was directing. And a very easy guy to work with, and it's good to have someone from the production company, if they're a reasonable person, with you when you're directing, because there's sometimes you do want to consult on things like tone, just the tone of the scene or whatever. Like you want to honor the original, but you may want to go back to that. And then there'll be an instance where you're directing and you go, whoops, the line I wrote isn't actually fitting. Now that we're in studio, it's not fitting that well. Kevin, I think I would like to, now you approved the script. I'm taking us back in time.
yeah,
You approved the script. I think this line would work better if she said, I want them all captured, as opposed to, I need them all to be with me here. Does that work for you within the storyline? Because it would work for the lip sync. So you consult with a client, as I did with Kevin, and got his approval. So things were going hunky dory. And then at some point near the end of the project, on a directing day, I got a gig that I was offered as an actor that was very high paying.
yeah,
But we had people scheduled in that day. And I said, Kevin, for the next 2 hours, I've got to jump out. I've got this. Would you mind directing these people for the last hour and a half? You've been watching me and they're good and they know lip sync and the engineer will help you. And he got very nervous and said, I've never done it before. I said, you can do it, dude. Let's start it while I'm here.
yeah,
Like you direct this person for the next 20 minutes and I'll just sit with you. So Kevin started to do it. I think he actually got comfortable going in the room in the booth with them
yeah.
initially, and putting
Really?
on headsets with them as opposed to sitting in the control room. As I'm remembering,
Yeah,
he actually got in there with them and for some reason found that comfortable initially. But he got going and he was fine with it. He was doing great. So I felt comfortable to leave. And he, in his shyness, said, "Okay, go ahead. Yeah, I'll be fine." And he finished off that day's session. So I like to think that maybe I got him his first directing gig, or at least got him comfortable with it. And he realized that he actually had a facility for it. And you don't have to be an outgoing. You can still be a shy, private person and direct
yeah,
because you're not putting yourself out there. And eventually, of course, he got confident enough where he started acting as well, which is great. But not on Ixer, but in his own projects, he would eventually, at Magnitude 8, begin to act, take little roles in his own projects, and did fine with it. So
uh,
he gradually kind of came out of himself, which was very nice to see. So we finished the Ixer one. He was listed as producer. Off it went. It was released on VHS. I
mhm.
still have some copies in my collection of the VHS.
Yeah,
Uh, and off to the races he went. Now, my understanding from there, if I'm memory serves, the next time I remember Kevin getting in touch with me, he was now partnering with Utaka,
mm,
and they were just starting out. They had not dubbed anything yet, to my understanding of things. They contacted me and said, "We're about to," and I don't know if it was Nippon or I can't recall who it was.
I think that would have been what was the property that they reached
I
out for?
don't recall.
Oh,
They were contacting someone that they wanted to do dubs for.
yeah, that would have been I think Manga Entertainment and probably Ken. If that this would have been what like 90, 92, 93
It was
ish.
after it was after 92 because 92 was Ixer. So
Okay,
it would have been somewhere between 93 and 94, I believe.
so that would have been that would have been potentially L.A. Hero. That would have been Guyver potentially or
Okay.
Orgus or maybe it was just a little bit after that. That could
I'm
have
not
that sounds
sure
like
'cause
Ken.
sometimes those years are like they
Oh
had Ixer as being dubbed in 93, but it was dubbed in 92 and released in 93.
yeah, a lot of
They
the
have
animes are like that.
Yeah, the Panda one that Kevin has got credit for says 75 in it. Well, that's when it was first released,
Yep.
but it wasn't dubbed in 75. So anyway, he contacted me. Perhaps that was who they're going to see. He and Utaka, and they said, Doug, we want to go see these people, but the problem is we don't have the track record. we're worried about whether they're going to want us to do the dubs.
Yeah.
Um, will you come with us? We will pay you for the day and buy you lunch. And if will you come in with us and to the meeting and mention some of the things that you've already worked on, that you've dubbed. We'd like to be able to say we're going to be working with you on these. Now, the truth was the only working with me that was going to take place was that I was casting their original stuff because
Yeah.
Kevin still didn't have a talent list. He didn't know Jameson and he didn't know the Fonz and he didn't know Richard Epcar or Steve Bloom or all these people that
Yeah.
I had been using in my projects. So I said, sure, I'll do that. So I went for lunch with him in Utaka. I believe that's when I first met Utaka.
Yeah.
Uh, also a very pleasant guy like Kevin was. And then I went to that meeting with them and sat in the whatever office that was and said, yeah, I'll be working with them. And yes, I have some experience casting and directing. And they obviously have access to properties and whatever. And I guess it worked out well. The next time I heard from Kevin, he said, we have a project we're doing. I don't know if it was Orgus or whatever. My casting list is it's not properly listed in either Wikipedia
Yeah.
or IMDb. I have paperwork from stuff that I've never gone through properly to try to get my Wikipedia and IMDb updated. But I can only say some of those early projects, Orgus or whatever, whichever ones, I was doing the casting. Kevin actually paid me, and
Yeah.
he would send me the cast list with the ages and the description, and I would give him various actors, usually one or two or three per role for the main roles, saying, these are people that I think could do the job for you. And eventually, of course, Kevin built that list from that and the other actor recommendations, etc., to the point where he didn't need me to do the casting anymore because he built his talent list.
Yeah.
Another perhaps interesting thing is that he said, Doug, here at Magnitude 8, we have Les Claypool, obviously, who's very talented, but he can't handle everything. Do you
Yeah.
have any engineers you can recommend to us? And I thought, I know somebody that I think Kevin will like, that he'll get along with, who I've used, not at Intersound, but at other studios, where he was given to me as an engineer, and I got along really well with him, and ended up hiring him on some of my projects, and that was Joe Ramersa.
Yeah.
So I recommended Joe Ramersa to him. Kevin used him and then called me up and said, oh my God, he likes Thai food just like, because I love Thai food too.
Yeah.
And Joe is a Thai food aficionado. And we've had many a meal. And anytime I went to Magnitude 8, that had to become part of the deal. As they tried to book me at lunchtime so we could all order Thai food, and Joe would get his string beans that he loved, and Kevin would get what he liked, and we'd share our meals. So that turned out to be a wonderful thing for Joe and for Kevin and for Les, is that Joe just fit right in like a hand in a glove over there. So Joe started to work there, and that made me very happy because very soon Joe, who's a wonderful musician,
Oh yeah.
began to also, they let him do a little bit of directing, and he has a beautiful low basso voice that let him do some acting. So Joe got his feet wet in that. And then eventually, as the company grew, as Joe can tell you, he began to do some music scores and play some songs in some of the anime that Kevin was doing.
Really? That is news to me.
Oh yeah. With Mary Lou, was it? If Steve Bloom's now wife,
Mary Elizabeth.
Mary Elizabeth. So
Yes.
thank you.
You're
With
good.
Mary Elizabeth, who's also very musically talented. Joe, some of the songs that she sang, Joe actually wrote, I believe, or did the
Really?
music for. So that's something don't have great expertise in, but it's something you can perhaps follow up on because
Yeah.
they got their hands in all of that as Kevin was doing more and more in the side of scoring. Scoring is not a thing. I only think I did that once for a project where I was involved in scoring something. I redid. It was a project where we wiped the audio completely. So I did everything. I also hired the Foley artists and music score and everything else. But that was actually an old John Wayne movie that had gone into public domain that I redid with sound alikes. But anyway, that's not an anime story.
It's
Um,
still pretty cool, but
yeah, it was pretty cool to find sound alikes for all these old Western stars from the 50s, because that film McClintock had gone into public domain. The only thing that hadn't gone public domain was the score, and that guy wanted $80,000 for the score or something like that, and the company couldn't afford it. So I said, "Okay, I'll get you a new score as well as the Foley and the voiceover actors and everything else." So we redid the entire audio. That was an interesting project. I
it's
don't
all
remember if Joe was involved in that one or not, but he might have been engineering on part of it. But
right.
anyway, that's my initial Kevin meeting Kevin, beginning of the anime directing career
Yeah.
with Kevin, and where my involvement came in.
That Joe did scoring is phenomenal.
Ask Joe. I mean, I don't want to speak for him, and
Yeah, yeah,
I don't want to get the facts wrong, but I know he had songs placed, and I thought he did some scoring. He
yeah.
definitely got his music skills got
Um,
ended up getting used at Animaze as well.
and I love his. I have some of his songs on my Spotify playlist. I went and listened to some of them. He has his amazing music, and then his voice is just so deep, and it's just
Yeah.
it's amazing. And this voiceover he did do was always really good.
Well,
So
that's the lovely thing about I love music. I can't play a note,
I
but
can't either. I can't either.
I've got 16,000 songs on my iTunes music listening all day long, all these genres. So
Yeah,
I loved it when I got into the sound industry. Almost all the engineers were musicians who were side gigging as engineers, Joe
yeah,
being one of them. Joe came in when I first met him. You know, I'm a short guy, and he came in all 6'4" of them or whatever,
yeah.
with his
He's
long
tall.
poncho on and his big Western hat on, kind of moseyed in. And I thought, is this guy from out west? At that point, he was part of a band called Soy Cowboy, which was doing rock, Thai, Western music. And they have a great CD. They had a great CD out, which he gifted me. Uh, the fun version of Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones and some other songs that they wrote. So when I first met Joe, he was a soy cowboy with that deep basement voice of his, doing the singing in the band.
Just imagine 6'4", giant hat and a poncho. That just
Yeah.
like I'm 6 feet. He would just tower over me.
Well, I at my best years, I almost made 5'7", and of course now I'm shrinking. I would, when you're short, you count every quarter inch. I was 5'6 3/4", hoping for four.
No.
Yeah, can I do it? Can I somehow stretch? So yeah, when Joe came in, it was like, oh, he's a tall drink of water, but very mellow guy. And for some reason, I always click with the engineers. But Joe and I, maybe it was because of Thailand.
Yeah.
I had been to Thailand. I love Thai food. Interested in Asian culture. Anyway, we just bonded
Yeah.
very easily. So I would try to bring Joe in to engineer on my projects when I could. And then, of course, once he became an Animaze guy, I lost him.
Yeah.
But that was fine because I'd go over there and it was like, it was always fun because I get along with the Claypools,
Yeah.
and then Kevin would be there, and Utaka, who I got to know, and Joe would be there, and it was like, hey, the gang is all here. Let's have lunch before we record. Let's do some Thai food.
He
These are
is.
all, these are all good people. This is
Oh
one
yeah.
of the lovely things. I've worked in theater, and I've been around on camera. People that you get a lot of nice people in voiceover world, and yeah, it makes it really familiar. I've had studios where I've been the house director
Yeah.
at different studios where if they get in-house projects, because they have to rent them out, they have to rent out, oh, Sony has a project, they bring in their own director. But if they get their own projects, I would house direct sometimes. And those places became like home. Like I would stop there on my way home and just to drop in and see everybody and maybe have my meal at the table with all the engineers and everybody hanging out there just because they were such mellow people.
I've I've met, I've talked to, I think, two Animaze engineers, both at completely different ends of the like timeline. I've spoken
Right.
with Joe, and then I've spoken with Eddie. Eddie Carrera goes by Mixter Ed. He did a lot of the
Yeah.
later stuff. I know there's still two more on my list that Mary Claypool reached out to, so I think they're aware of me, which is Big Phil, so Phil Brewster and Michael
Right.
McCarty or
Right.
McCarthy. One McCarty or McCarthy. I think it's McCarty. So
I think it's McCarty. We're Facebook friends. It's McCarty, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, and for me, the engineers feel like have some of the best stories. So that's why I've
Hmm.
been really trying to be like, hey, can you please, come on, or this great man, help me fill these gaps because they were there for everything. They weren't just
Sure.
there for I'm gonna record my lines. They were there for most of, if not all, the recording sessions. So they got
Right.
stories on stories on stories. And
Sure.
for
They
me,
could have way more than I would. Yeah. And as you say, yeah, the actors, we come in for an hour or 3 hours or whatever, and
yeah,
we're gone. The engineers there all day long.
oh yeah,
As is the studio we had and mixer like Lex,
yeah,
but not, excuse me, Les, rather,
yeah,
Claypool,
yeah,
um, who is still dealing with the health stuff, but
yeah.
hopefully you'll get a chance to speak to him, and I'm sure he'll have lots of stories.
That's what I've been told. That's what I've been told. I've been warned, so to speak. He's like he'll get on one thing, like he'll tell you about this little thing, and he'll stretch it for like an hour. Which for me, I would just sit there and listen. My background is in engineering. I've pivoted from I was computer engineer. I've had to pivot to audio engineering. Was doing just audio engineering for convention circuits. So I get to travel with a bunch of audio equipment and put on panels and bands,
Right.
and it for me it doubles as a engine to go for this project. I get to run into a lot of the people at shows and talk to them, tell them what I'm doing in person, which is what I was recommended to do. It's the best way to pitch it, and then
Yeah,
I'm off to the races. Now,
sure.
the only downside is the people who are going to these conventions are going to more conventions, so their calendars are so full it's hard to get any time with them. But
Yeah, it's a big because of my autoimmune. I have autoimmune issues,
yeah,
and so I don't travel outside of LA. So my convention circuit is small compared to
yeah,
my fellow actors. I just do 2 or 3 a year, but
yeah,
certainly, yeah, some are just constantly on the road,
yeah,
going from convention to convention. But all the people you'll be speaking to are probably like Lex Lang and Jameson Price. These are all people I knew way back. I knew Lex when he first hit town. I was at his bachelor party. We've been to Vegas together with the boys, where 4 or 5 of us, before he was married, would go hang out in Vegas together and do a weekend in Vegas, with Richard Epcar, the late Bob Pappenbrook, Steve Kramer, him, me, and gosh, probably a couple of other guys too. So
yeah.
yeah, I know all these people, and I go pretty way back.
Oh yeah. And then from there, I think I've gotten Jameson. I got Richard at a show recently, and I know he's good for an interview. Him and his wife Ellen, but they've been doing show after show, and I know he's excited too. He's like, after he talked to me, he's like, I'm actually excited now. Um, I think the most
Well,
recent,
he yeah, he ended up doing a lot of work for Kevin. All
yeah,
those folks that you mentioned, I mean, Peter Lorre, I don't know,
yeah,
except in passing, but all these other folks, Paul
yeah,
St. Peter and everybody you mentioned, yeah, we're all in the Wayback Machine.
yeah,
A
like
lot of those people I met pre-anime,
yeah,
like back in when we were just doing, as I say, dubbing of random projects,
yeah.
before the whole anime thing kicked in.
Melody Spivak and Michael McConaughey. They were OGs.
Yeah, Spivak.
Spivak.
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah, they're good people. We're in touch. They're
yeah,
lovely people.
yeah. I'm just waiting on I pitched in person. All these people I've pitched them. All of them have been pretty like they've either I got an interview slated or it's being
Yeah,
kicked back. So no,
right.
they amazing people, and the fact that it's just ballooning and ballooning and ballooning. It's how I plan. This is how I planned it to be. I wanted it to be a natural snowball. I think
Hmm.
every single person I've talked to, I've networked the old-fashioned way. I have, with cons, I have connections to agencies and all that, but I was like, no, no, no. Let me do it how they would do it. They know a guy who knows a guy who knows a
Yeah,
guy,
yeah,
and so far, like, that's how I've gotten every contact. The Fawns especially have been really, really helpful with people who are not doing circuits, or their contacts are not as readily available. And
right.
Tom's just a sweetheart. So,
Yeah,
his word has been very, very helpful with a lot of the older, like 91 to like 94 people. So, no, it's
yeah. He's a young man. He didn't get into it until the early '90s. Us '80s, 1980s folks, of course.
yeah.
We got seniority on the Tom Fonz, but he's a nice young man.
Yeah, he started from our interview. He started at the same time as his Bloom. They were on
Yeah,
the yeah. It was that was
around
Guyver.
around the same time, a gentleman I know named Jack Herman, who is from New York, said to me when I was directing, and he said, "Doug, I got a couple of friends from also from New York City, the Fawn brothers. Could I send them to you? Would you listen to their demos or whatever it was?" And that's how I met the Fawn Boys. And Steve Bloom, I met when he was still working a day gig at a film company, and we were doing looping work for TV shows and films for whatever. And we met Steve, and he said, I'm trying to get into the voice industry. Oh, okay, interesting. And then he seems to have a nice voice. And I actually directed Steve in something, an original animation show called what was it, Inspector Mouse, near the beginning of his career. It was something that was animated by a gentleman named Ralph Steadman. Ralph Steadman had been the illustrator for Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which was uh, old school book from the days. Anyway, I have
Yeah,
stories about all these people because I know them all from the '80s and early '90s.
of course, of course. Those are yeah. No, those are always fun stories. And that's the beauty of this project, is that it proved the fact that we went from Kevin and then Joe and Richard. It shows that that spider web exists. Like
Oh, absolutely.
it's
We
the
all,
it's the conspiracy meme with the whiteboard and the red lines. It's like, look at
yeah,
this. It's all connected. Boy bands and ice cream, which is
exactly.
like, in some of these people, it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be an interesting time to try and get a hold of them, just because they did
Yeah,
blow up. Some of my big one of my top, like, the chase, the if you would, is Bloom. Bloom and Mary, because they're so busy. But I'm like,
yeah,
this is literally covering their early career and somebody that they loved, respected, and so I have hope. Like, I think with the connections that I've made, I'll at least at some
yeah.
point get an answer. If it's a no, it's a no. But I
And if I can just intervene for it, because it's reminding me of something in
go for it.
Kevin, to speak well of Kevin in his favor.
Yes.
Early in the industry, like many industries, there was chauvinism, and a lot of women directors had trouble breaking in. There was somebody who directed, her name was, they called her Bird at Intersound, but she was the only woman director I knew. When Wendy Lee was trying to break into directing, it was very difficult for her to get a foothold.
And
Kevin Seymour brought in Mary. He brought in Leah Sargent.
I actually have to work with Wendy for a minute, so she also
Right.
echoed the same thing, that Kevin gave her a shot. Like,
Yeah,
let her direct. And
let her. She directed at Saban too, but that was a tough road for her at
yeah.
first. There was resistance, but yeah, he just Kevin was just open and said, "Hey, you're talented. Come on in, do it." I don't have prejudice, macho BS prejudice against women directors, and
Yeah.
it was gave a break to helped all those ladies in their
And
careers.
they, I think all of them went on. I know Leah retired at some point and or went on to the other parts of the industry, but
Yeah,
Wendy and Mary are still directing
yeah,
actively. Like,
yeah,
for just as an example, my elevator pitch for this project, I fine tuned it with the help of Wendy. working with her at a show, and during the downtime, it was just I'd write it out. She'd be like, no, she'd write notes on it. I'd rewrite it, and it would just go back and
Right.
forth. I think I flipped the director switch. She started directing me on. I'm gonna say she was directing me because that's what it was. She was directing me on how to how to write this pitch, how to deliver it, wording, writing, everything, and it felt like she was about the size of Joe Ramersa, like 6'4". Like just
Yeah.
the energy that she carried, and I respect her for that wholeheartedly. Like
Yeah.
it was. I say that Jameson's the one who listened, and Wendy was the one who kind of gave me that uh, director positive, constructive criticism
Great.
to
Yeah.
help kind of fine tune that out, and then I was off to the races. But no, I was aware of Kevin's giving people. He gave so much opportunity.
Yeah. To a lot of people. And it's funny you mentioned the height thing. There was a gentleman who's passed named Tom Weiner. Uh,
Yes, he
and
passed away in
Tom,
2014.
yeah, Tom did a lot of
2024, yeah.
2024, I think.
2024.
He did a lot of writing and directing, and I was directing and whatever. And I'm at a party with Tom, who was maybe 6 feet, and Tom said, "Well, and somehow height came in. I said, "Well, Tom, I wish I'd reached 5'7". He said, "What? What are you talking about? You have 5'10". I said, "No, Tom." He said, "What?" I said, "Stop for a second. Just look at me, and stand next to me." And he went, "Oh my God." Oh, dude, it's the way you carry it. I always thought you were 3 inches. I always thought you were bigger. It was because I was directing and running projects and had my own group at that time. It gives you an impression of physical size. And so certainly people like Wendy, who just isn't doesn't bully, but has an authoritative because of experience,
Yeah.
she carries herself with confidence or whatever. It makes you look larger. It's an odd thing. And
Yeah.
sometimes people have to step back and go, wait a minute, you're a foot shorter than me. You know?
No, I wish I would have been able to speak with Tom. I know this project didn't even get conceived until probably like a little after he passed away.
Mm.
I loved his. I need to look into his writing work, but his voiceover, just that his butter, just his buttery voice, his buttery
Oh, yeah.
deep voice.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
he got into audiobooks, which was perfect for Tom.
oh, I gotta go find some of those. I would
Oh,
listen to
right.
him.
That became a big deal. He left LA. He wasn't getting I this is how I understand it.
Yeah,
He wasn't getting enough work here and left LA for a while and then found himself in the audiobook industry. I hadn't heard what he'd done, but as soon as I heard he was doing that, I've done about 3 or 4 audiobooks,
yeah,
but very character-driven ones.
yeah.
That's my thing is character-driven, but he had that voice where he could just tell you the story. And I thought, "Oh, that's perfect for Tom."
Oh yeah,
He's got that lovely, as you say, buttery,
very
deep,
buttery. Like
welcome
I would
voice.
listen to him monologue. I really would. Like my favorite of his currently, because I'm still watching. It's hundreds of hours of footage from Animaze and whatever Kevin worked on. Is it still probably is Ghost in the Shell? His monologue as the puppet master at the very end of the film is just it hits. It hits really hard, and I don't think anybody else could have carried that scene as well as him.
Mhm.
Even from a writing perspective, the fact that Mary Claypool didn't have to worry about mouth flaps, it gave a lot of freedom for how he could carry that scene, while also just delivering a phenomenal performance. With of course the mixing from Les and Joe, with all the because that ending scene is just a really good example of audio editing, scripting, the whole 9 yards. It's one of Ghost is probably one of my favorites, and I know it was one of the first ones that got done at Mag 8. One of them, I think. Is it
Yeah, I
is
think I had a small role in it. It's hard for me to remember,
you
but
did. You did. You were actually you co-star
driver?
you were a garbage truck driver,
That's it, yeah.
and your co-star, your other garbage truck driver that was next to you was Kevin.
Ah, okay. I seem to remember that one being a gift where Kevin called me and said, "I wanna have you in and do something on this. I've already cast the major roles. I know you're busy. Come in for an hour, and, I'm gonna I just want you to be part of it." bless him.
Yeah.
And so I just went in and, we probably had Thai food or whatever, and then just did a little role in it. But I thought, oh, now in retrospect, I go, great. It's obviously a very iconic title. And although I didn't have a big role in it, I still get to say, yeah, I was in Ghost in the Shell, which
Yeah.
is fun to be able to say.
Oh, it was apparently a really wild production cycle. I think they had 2 to 3 weeks to do everything for it,
Been
and
there, been there.
I and the last thing I'll say on Ghost is because I want to talk more about Kevin, is I was actually, because of Tom, I was able to interview Mimi Woods, who worked with Kevin. She's not in the industry anymore, but
Okay.
she worked on all that beginning stuff, Guyver, Orgus. She was the lead in Ghost. She
Oh,
co-starred with alongside Richard. She played the Major, and she played the Major twice, and then she moved away. And Kevin really wanted to keep using her, but she lived, I forget where she lived, but it was a far enough drive to where it was like she could only come in for a few things. And then
hmm,
she stopped around, I think 2001 was her last project, and she just went to continue working in the corporate world. I did an interview with her, and it was phenomenal. And then I actually I did this for myself more than anything, is I finally I get to run my own small convention here in my hometown, and I was able to get Mimi to come out for it. So it'll be her
oh, no.
first ever convention, but I'm excited for that, because then I have my own memorabilia. I have an original movie poster, but it's also the memory piece, and then just saying thank you for giving me her time. So,
Cool.
but
Yeah, she's not someone that I knew, but I guess, as I say, Kevin had expanded his talent list
yeah,
beyond my own, where people would, maybe Steve Bloom would say, "Hey, I know somebody,"
that
outside of the original circle, and it just kept growing.
yeah.
And I guess
Well, that's
that
how.
must have
Well,
she came from.
well that
Bryan Cranston, he gave me Bryan Cranston when I was looking for actors. I said, Kevin, now I'm running out of actors. Have you got anybody? And he gave me Bryan Cranston, who at that point didn't have all the success, obviously.
yeah,
And he came in and dubbed on McClintock, my Western John Wayne movie. He was a cowboy.
really,
Yeah,
really. He has the
incredible.
voice for it. So
He played a young guy. He played some. Well, Mr. McClintock, I just don't know what I'm going to do, sir. He was just like a young cowboy type guy in his 20s or whatever, as I recall, and maybe a few other little bits or whatever. And
yeah,
so, yeah, it was a funny. It was it. We got to the point where we would the late Scott Page. Also, I would share actors with him, and he started to share actors with me. Scott Page was at Saban, and he was an engineer who went on to become a director, and ended up working at Mattel for a while as well.
nice, nice.
Became a voiceover director.
But I love that. It said it goes to show, how just how much of an impact, oh, Dorothy brought in Jameson. Jameson may have brought that spider web, and I said it's one of the two ways I like projecting this project is the impact.
I may have gotten Jameson. I don't remember if I introduced Kevin to Jameson or
It was
Kevin introduced me to Jameson.
it
I'm not sure.
was Dorothy brought Jameson in. I know that one for sure,
Okay.
because Dorothy
In that
and
case,
yeah, because they were working on a theatrical piece
okay.
together. And I heard this from both Dorothy and Jameson when I interviewed them.
Then I probably got Jameson from Kevin.
Probably.
That might have been it. Kirk Thornton was working in theater, and Tom Weiner saw him
Yeah.
and said, I like your acting. Come in and try some dubbing. And so he was doing dubbing, and then I found him through Tom and went, oh, I like this guy, Kirk. So I started to bring him in. He might have been in it. I think he was in Ixer as a school teacher, like a small role in
Yeah.
Ixer. So yeah, it was everybody sharing and networking
Yeah.
to grow the. Now, of course, anybody you meet says, I want to get into anime. But in those days, we had to hunt for people who could do dubbing because it was a small world we were living in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely an oversaturated market from the act. I think oversaturated from the actor perspective, but
Now it is, yeah. But yeah, there's tons of. I mean, every time I go on a project, sometimes I'll meet people I knew 20 years ago, and other times
Yeah.
I do a lot of dubbing these days for live action stuff
Yeah.
for Netflix and Hallmark. So you don't see as many anime titles on my IMDb because I'm doing a lot of live action dubbing. But
Yeah.
I knew absolutely new directors, new engineers, new script supervisors, knew everybody,
Yeah.
and I'm hearing from people who are 25 years old saying, "Doug, can you come in?" And yeah, cool. I don't care how old they are. If they know what they're doing and
Yeah.
they're easy to work with, great,
Yeah.
fantastic. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's massive industry now.
It is, and I think some of that can be attributed to Kevin. That's one of the. I think some of that, at least from the LA side, because there's kind of the
Yeah,
four, LA, Canada, New York, and Texas. I think from the LA side, I think Kevin definitely had an impact on the newer, so 90s, post 90s.
yeah,
I believe that just from the amount of people that like that I've met, or even my list, all of them started 90, like after Kevin got started, and they would say, "Oh,
sure,
Kevin gave me a shot. Kevin did this. Kevin did that."
yeah.
I'm definitely interested in either stories, working with him more, or you were telling me earlier whenever we were emailing and talking, his love for his cat, or like the man, Kevin the man, Kevin
Yeah.
the lover of cats, Kevin the lover of music, stuff like that.
Well, I can't speak to this music too much
Yeah.
because our Kevin was 8 years younger than me, and our musical tastes only coincided for some reason. Didn't coincide completely. I know who Maroon Five are, but our
Yeah.
musical connection wasn't as strong as our cat connection was.
Yes. Yes.
Kevin, I didn't know at first, and he didn't know at first that I had cats in my house, that I've had at least 1 to 4 cats since 1985, since I moved to LA. When we found out that both of us had that shared love for cats, that became a strong connection, personal connection for us. And Kevin was I'm a very paternal person, and Kevin, with cats and people, Kevin was particularly he was very protective of people and very kind to people, but I think his dad stuff came out with cats. He loved his cats deeply. And so, yeah, Kevin would call me to say, "Oh, Doug, I'm doing such and such project. Do you want to come in and do that?" I didn't generally have to audition for him. He'd just say he knew what I did.
Yeah.
He'd say, "I have a such and such. I know you don't have tons of time, but if you want to come in, it'd be fun. It's 2 hours and it's a fun project." Da da da. Yeah, great, Kevin. We work out a time. Great. So, what's up with your cats? And I knew I would tell my then wife, "Gonna be late for dinner. Keep it warm for me," because that meant Kevin and I were going to talk for an hour. Literally, I'm not exaggerating. We would probably be on the phone for another hour telling each other cat stories. What a cute thing his cat just did, and da 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 da, and it's eating this food, and da da. I say, "Well, I'll tell you, Sparky just, da da da, and he's become really good friends with so and so, and Sprite and him, and da, and on it would go, and we would just exchange cat stories. Um, Before Kevin passed, I had become part of a cat rescue. I began volunteering at a cat rescue, which I'm still part of since 2012. I sit on the board of a no-kill cat rescue. But my involvement with them began in I think 2011 or 12, before Kevin had passed.
Yeah.
So he was thrilled when he found out that I'm involved with, I will say the name, the Kitty Bungalow Charm School for Wayward Cats. Uh, we used a school theme and still do to try to make ourselves stand out. So our cats are students at our shelter, and when they are adopted, they become graduates. So we use this school theme, and this was at the very beginning of the this existence of this shelter. So I got very involved because it was just a backyard at that point. So I started to do volunteer coordination with them because hell, I'd done casting and volunteer coordination for 85 actors on a project. So to do volunteer coordination for 15 volunteers to make sure we have people all through the day to take care of the kiddies, I can do that for free. Just give it to me and I'll handle it. So I'm doing that kind of stuff as well as volunteering. And Kevin was through the moon when he heard this. He just thought this was the greatest thing ever and was thrilled. So he'd want to hear Kitty Bungalow stories too, from my going there and bottle feeding babies and the kind of stuff that I got involved in. He just loved hearing these stories, being a cat fan himself. So we were constantly telling stories. Had Kevin lived, I think I would have been able to get him involved in Kitty Bungalow. It's not in the valley. He lives in the San Fernando Valley,
Yeah.
but I think I would have been able to get him involved. I certainly got other voiceover actors involved through fundraisers that I would do, where I would auction off signed autographs and voiceover messages from voiceover actors like Lex
Yeah.
and his wife Sandy and others who were kind enough, Richard and Ellen and many of the other actors got involved with this to just make donations to me that I could then auction off with all the monies going to save animal lives. But anyway, Kevin and I obviously were very deeply big cat lovers. Obviously, that gives me away as a cat lover. So we'd have long conversations about kitties, and this was kind of our touchstone, if you will. Um, Seeing him at Magnitude 8 and having lunches with him, and sometimes we would go out after. He would book me at the end of the day so that we could all go to a Thai restaurant together. So it wasn't a meal at Magnitude 8, but rather we'd all go hang out in a restaurant and have Thai food there. So those were our kind of personal connections. Was the kitties and the Thai food and the anime and the casting, and we talk about actors, the different actors and different issues that we might have come across as directors that
Yeah.
we could share war stories about or whatever. Um, that's how I really knew Kevin the person the most, was through
Yeah.
those avenues. We didn't go out and hang out in clubs together. I don't know if he went to clubs even, but
I don't think he
I
did.
did.
I think you got. I think you got the extent of what Kevin did for like, ec- uh, talking to people,
Extracurricular.
extracurricular, because he would
Yeah.
do work, and then I think his hobbies were anime, cats, and whenever eBay started coming out, eBay, because he,
Yeah.
he he was a massive collector.
Yeah, yeah. I knew. I wasn't an eBay person, but I would have those conversations with him
Yeah.
where he was trying to educate me because I think I wanted to sell stuff, and he was like, "Oh man," he was a font of information about how to sell things on eBay, and he was explaining but all the collector's items he had, that some of which he was selling, so, buying and selling, and yeah, I knew a little bit about that, but wasn't involved in it as much. But certainly heard the stories. But yeah, I think you're right. I think those were his major interests: the eBay, the collecting, the anime, the cats,
And
uh,
music as well. That was probably the other
music.
pillar of Kevin was
Yeah,
music. Like if
which is probably why he got along so well with Joe, who also is a font of knowledge as far as music goes.
oh
But
yeah.
Kevin and I never exchanged mixtapes. I used to do mixtapes on reel to reel when I was a kid. I bought myself, because I quit school at 16 and went to work, and I bought a reel to reel, and I would literally cut the tape to make mix reels, and then did it on cassette, and then et cetera, et cetera.
That's cool.
So,
That's really cool.
so I share that love with him of doing that, but it wasn't something we talked about a lot. I don't think he gave me any. A guy named Dave Mallow, who's now passed as well, was big on mixtapes, and
Yeah.
he would give out mixtapes to people all the time. That was We used to exchange songs and music a lot, Dave and I, but didn't do it with Kevin much.
If you are interested in kind of his recommendations, I rebuilt his original website, animazing.com, from archives from the Internet Archive. And as a
Right.
programmer, I was able to basically just rebuild them as they were from the last screenshot that I was able to get, which included a web page, which was his music recommendations page. Uh,
Oh, I'd be curious to see that if you want
yeah,
to
yeah.
forward that to me. Yeah,
I'll forward that link to you, and forward you
sure.
the whole website because it's literally there's a Cats page, there's his eBay page, there's his love for sci-fi. He was a big sci-fi buff. Like
Yeah.
he was I think I said he was a primordial nerd. Like now what people are into now, he was into it before it was cool. Before the idea of it being cool, cuz even in like the early 2000s, it wasn't cool, but like even back in the 90s he was like there was even less access. You mentioned that you had Ixer, right? Ixer. Uh
Ixer.
Ixer. You have Ixer VHS tapes.
Yeah.
As I've been collecting for this archive, the further I go back, the less accessible they are. Like I've been fortunate. I have a guy, love him to death. He's local to Texas, where I'm based out of, and his whole thing is he collects retro anime. So he's been kind of my dealer, my supplier. It's like, hey, I need some 90s anime, and then he'll find it for me. So like, I think
Check out Tenchi Muyo. Do
yeah,
you know Tenchi Muyo?
sounds familiar. I'm a visual guy. Tenshi Muyo.
It was very big. I directed a bunch of them, and I really liked that series, anime series, and it was I'm pretty sure it was 90s.
Tenshi Muyo. Let's see here. This
Tenchi.
I grabbed it right here.
Okay.
Oh
So if
yeah.
you're into retro stuff, you might want to check it out. It's kind of fun.
Oh, it looks really cute. Like I like that old '90s
Goofy.
aesthetic.
Yeah, it's goofy, is what I liked, but a
Oh,
goofy
goofy.
humor, which I enjoyed.
I'm a sucker for like old slapstick and Japanese comedy. So like those are the ones like I'm a big fan of Ranma, which is
Hmm.
that was dubbed in Canada. Um, I'm been recommended 3 times now El Hazard, which feels like it has a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
comedy. I
yeah.
have it, and I've been recommended.
I think I voiced in that. I think
Probably
I
Kevin liked to use the same as you said. Kevin had a list, and he kept bringing the same people in because
I
he
did
liked to.
too, man. You find good people who are reliable. I tried to always open it up,
Yeah.
and I did meet new actors, and you want to give people a chance,
Oh yeah,
but you want your base to be people you can know you can
yeah.
rely on.
But yeah, and when those new people came in, I've noticed like some of them, a good chunk of them, especially that walked through Animaze's doors, ended up going on to be really big.
Oh
I
yeah.
it's crazy to
I mean,
think.
I was just gonna say I met Stephanie Shea at Bang Zoom Studios. She was kind of new in town, handing out cards and whatever. And now Stephanie Shea directs and produces. She's like all over the place, and voicing everywhere.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure to meet Stephanie. I know she also works a lot with NYAV, which is a New
Yeah,
York-based company. Who I
yeah.
if there's another director that I will just say is phenomenal, Michael Sinter Nicholas, the I think he's the owner of NYAV. He's based out of New York. He
I've
is
worked for YAV actually. I've remotely.
yeah,
I've done work for them.
but Michael he just this like big ball of happy energy.
Mm.
He actually, funny enough, had directed some redubs of Kevin's work, which is interesting. That's the one like thing I've noticed is some of these properties have either Kevin redubbed them or they got redubbed after Kevin.
Happened to me too. I was the original guy dubbing Jackie Chan pictures into English. In
Yeah,
the early 90s, Golden Harvest Pictures was my client. I had my own little business.
yeah,
I was an independent director, whatever. And we were dubbing Jackie Chan stuff with all these dubbing actors, these same actors. And some of the stuff, I went to rent one, and the guys at the dubbing store looked at me like I was proudly saying, "Oh, I directed this dub." And they went, "Oh." And I thought, well, I thought it was good. I take it home. It's not mine. It's been redone and it's terrible. I won't say the title. It's awful. And I go, why would they do that? We worked so hard at it, but stuff gets grabbed and redubbed for whatever reasons, political or otherwise.
Yeah. Now there's I think there's two that one of them, and Richard will die on this hill. He says his was the best.
Hmm.
Cagliostro has 3
No
dubs.
title.
Yeah,
Does it?
Lupin the Third, Castle Cagliostro had 3 dubs. The first one, I want to say it was either Inner Sound. It was the early ones. It had Bergen, it had McConaughey, it had that cast,
Right,
and
right.
then they did Kevin did a dub with David Hayter in the lead. Lex Lang. Was Lex in that one? Yeah, I think so. And then Kevin actually cast himself as the inspector, which I'll get to this in a minute with Kevin. And the third one was Richard's dub, which just came out last year, and that has his red cast. So Tony Oliver as Lupin, and he was saying like mine's the best. I'm like, then I gotta watch it then. So you'd mentioned he cast himself in a few of his properties. I'm aware of that. I've gone through so many cast lists. I'm starting to see shapes as letters and letters as shapes. And I noticed that Kevin loved to cast himself as either quirky characters, fun characters, characters he enjoyed. So, Garbage Man B, just this like, I'm done with this crap. Garbage Man against your happy-go-lucky cohort, or my favorite of his, it's the Sandy. I blame Sandy for this. Sandy Fox. She recommended one of them. It was Catnapped. It was think of think of like a Ghibli film, but on acid. Like it's an original IP. Mary Claypool was the writer, and Kevin directed, and the cast for it was phenomenal. It had Weiner in it, had Sorich, Knight, had Leah in it, Sandy, had Dorothy as the lead, but it was her first time playing a young boy, so it was a little bit darker. But the stars of the show, in my opinion, was Mary Elizabeth as the lead villain. Think of like a spoiled princess meets King Midas, except instead of the power of gold, it was the power of balloons. And then Kevin plays the right hand henchman, this crazed cat named Dodo that would just do the bidding of this princess and just maniacally laugh, and like it's free on YouTube. I'll send you a list. I'll send you a bunch of links if you're ever curious. There's a lot of publicly facing films that are available to watch for free that I've saved on my YouTube. There's a bunch of stuff, but it's Kevin just being able to go to town, and to me it's insane how much energy he puts into any role he does when he's behind the mic.
I think with Kevin, it's like they say, don't get a quiet man angry, right? Like it's the real quiet guy. It's not the braggart. It's the real quiet guy. And you don't push him too far. I think a shy guy like Kevin, when he found an outlet in front of a microphone that he could let loose, then he would just, I think it was so joyful for him because by nature he was kind of shy and a little withdrawn,
Yeah,
that he would just go. He wanted those roles where he could just go crazy and let go and let it all out, where he wouldn't ordinarily in conversation.
which is incredible. A good way to summarize Kevin, or just any last thoughts on the type of on the subject of Kevin.
Kevin as a person, which is the most important thing. It's Kevin, the person who did all that work and left that wonderful legacy of work for future generations and helped so many actors. Kevin, the man, was a kind, I remember him as a very kind, always honest. This industry, there's a lot of dishonest people. There's people that make promises and lie, and you got to watch, where's my paycheck? Am I getting it? You never had to worry about that with Kevin. Kevin's word was his bond. He was an honest, nice guy who truly adored and loved what he did, loved what he was doing, his job, and got to live his dream life, I hope, from what I could see by being so involved in anime. So certainly my memories of Kevin are all positive. I can't think of one negative thing or one negative memory that I have of him. My memories are of a kind, inclusive person who just wanted to do a good job at something he adored and loved working with talented people and took great pride in what he produced. And I also take pride in what I do, and I think that's what gives things longevity, and that's what makes them meaningful to people. I think what you put in is felt and it resonates. Uh, Quick example, I did a character in a cartoon series 42 years ago. And one of the characters in this cartoon series was a single father raising a son. I get people who come up to me at conventions, men who are 40 and 50 years old, who get tearful, who say, that character you played meant so much to me as a young boy because I was from a broken home or whatever else. Well, when I played that character, I gave it everything I had. I gave it as much heart as I could because you have to be honest to the work. And here it is 45 years later or whatever it is, and it still resonates with people. So I mention that only because I think that's what Kevin did, is that Kevin put his heart into all of his work, and that's why it still has life. That's why younger people like yourself are interested in him, why other young people, even in their 20s, will go and watch his work and say, this is amazing, this is great, wow, look at what he did, because he put everything he had into it. He didn't take shortcuts. So I have nothing but good feelings for Kevin, good memories, and I think his legacy lives on in his work and in the memories that he's left, the people that he did work with, who I think all would remember and speak of him kindly.
Give it up for Doug Stone. Thank you so much, Doug, for coming on and telling us your stories about Kevin the man, and Kevin the person. You had honestly a lot of really good insight on his early career and also just, the type of man that he was. I know at the end of this episode as well, I'll probably have that, if you wouldn't mind, Doug, to have that cat shelter linked in the description of this. I think it's
Oh, that'd
something
be lovely.
I would love to support that in any way I can. If it's something that Kevin would have supported, then I want to make sure that there's that possibility that if anything comes of this project, I think Kevin would have loved for that to help support something that he would have supported. So at the end of this episode, please check out the description below for all the information on that. But thank you all so much for listening, and we're going to let Kevin's band, The Just, play us out. I want to thank Pop Soap again for sponsoring this episode. They are a Houston-based handmade skincare brand that specializes in all-natural vegan soaps and body products made in small and various uniquely themed batches. I am proud to say that I have started to fall in love with their oil products, and you can too, by going to the link in the description or going to popsoapstore.com and using the promo code Animaze15. That is ANIMAZE15 to save 15% off your entire order. Thank you all so much, Pop Soap, for supporting me again. They are the ones leading the soap revolution, and I am glad to be a part of that. Thank you all so much, and I look forward to seeing y'all in the next episode.